Yo, what is going on, guys? J.Yumeko here, and today we're back with some more Katawa Shoujo. To be completely honest, it's been, 10 days, I think, since I made and posted the last Katawa Shoujo video. So, I kind of forgot what happened last time. I think we went on a little bit of a date, though, and she opened up a little bit more to us. So yeah, that was a nice little date that we went on, well, kind of sort of date. I think we ended up getting her that little present, the keychain for her phone. So, without further ado, let's get right on back into it. Whispered Touch. Finally reaching the classroom after the usual walk from the dormitories, I step inside. My eyes immediately turn to the third seat from the left in the back row, Hanako's seat. It's empty, and after glancing around the classroom, it looks like she isn't here yet. The two other girls from the newspaper club are here in the two seats to the left of Hanako's, as are Shizune and Misha, but that's about it. We exchange morning greetings before I take my seat. I have to admit that this is a bit of a relief. This gives me at least a few more minutes to think. Not that I haven't been doing so previously. Ever since our trip to town, Hanako's been on my mind. I still don't know what to make of my relationship with Hanako. I like her. I can admit that much to myself. I want to protect and shield her from the pain she feels. I really don't think my feelings are just those of friendship anymore. But that said, I feel like I don't even know her. If I made a move on her, how would she take it? Is she in an emotional state that allows her to make a reasonable decision about a relationship? How could she cope with anything that might happen afterwards? There's also the possibility that I'm just completely misinterpreting Hanako. Not a difficult thing to do with someone whose social skills seem to be so underdeveloped. The sound of footsteps comes up to the door, making me perk up. It ends up just being Miki. I like Miki, she's a fun little side character there. She barely acknowledges my existence when I accidentally make eye contact with her. I'm about to look away, but another person comes in not long after she takes her seat. I feel myself freeze as I see Hanako enter. This is an irrational reaction, but I have no idea how I should act or what I should say to her. For a moment, our eyes meet. And then, just as quickly, she looks away and moves to her seat without saying a single word. As is now usual for the period following my classes, my face is buried deep in a book that I find thoroughly uninteresting. Studying is not something that comes naturally to me. I didn't study a lot before coming to Yamaku, and until now, I've largely managed to coast through on talent alone. It's frustrating that I can't do that anymore. Judging by the faces of the other few students in the library, I don't think I'm alone in my distaste for this. Misery loves company, I suppose. I decide to spend lunchtime with Hanako, since we haven't had lunch together for a while now. I may as well have spent the time studying though. Aside from pathetically small snippets of small talk, there was barely a word said between us. Why does she keep doing this to me? I just want to protect her, to be there for her. But every time I feel like we're coming closer, we end up further away.
Are you busy?
Hanako? My head whips around in surprise, causing her to retreat in fright. That was bad timing. If I hadn't been thinking about her at that very moment, I probably wouldn't have been so startled. Sorry, you just startled me. I find myself staring at her longer than I should, so I go back to the text lying on the table in front of me. I feel more like I'm just staring at the words rather than actually reading. I get the feeling Hanako can notice this as well, so I sigh and close the book. What's up?
I was just wondering what you were reading.
She looks a little downcast after my reaction to seeing her. Giving up on the prospect of getting any more work done, I get up and return the book to its place on a nearby shelf. Just an English textbook.
Has it helped?
Helped me realize that I don't like English, yeah. Hanako gives a small giggle. I may muse on the strange state of our friendship, but I do know that such little gestures are things that I wouldn't see were I not at least some distance closer to her than when we first met. I look at her for a moment, thinking about what I do and don't know about her. It's a slightly depressing topic.
Is something wrong?
If I want to know more about her, maybe I should stop being so evasive about it. Talking with Lily as an equal rather than being constantly in fear of causing her to become upset worked fine, so I should just try a straightforward approach with Hanako as well. Hey, Hanako, do you mind if I ask you a question?
I don't mind.
I want to know what your life was like. Your life before coming to Yamako. She hesitates. I briefly consider backing off, but she seems to be taking the question quite seriously. I sit and watch her, silently letting her take her time. She's not making eye contact with me, and looks almost as if she's arguing with herself into letting herself open up to me more. Her answer finally comes in a stiff, almost reluctant nod. She looks far more tense than she did before I had asked.
Okay, but in return, you have to tell me about your life as well.
I nod, and follow her as she begins to walk out of the library so we can talk. By now, most of the students have already left the main building, so apart from a few people hovering around club rooms, the hallways are largely empty. I guess we'll start with coming to Yamako. Let's see. I was in the hospital when my parents first told me about Yamako Academy. The doctors told me I shouldn't go to my old school anymore. My parents agreed and persuaded me to apply for Yamako, even though it would mean leaving away from them for the first time.
It must have been hard for you.
Well, yeah, I have to admit it was. My parents both work long hours and full time, so having to live reasonably independently wasn't anything new to me. It was the fact that I was going to a school for disabled students that hit the hardest, I think. And you? A small group of chattering girls passes us as we near the stairs, with Hanako pressing herself tightly to my side until we reach the ground floor. She doesn't usually come this close while just walking in the school, so I'm left a little put off.
The staff at the orphanage offered me some options on what I could do. Middle school hadn't been good, so I thought that Yamako might be better. It was isolated, and I thought it might be easier to get by here with most of the others being disabled.
It's pretty ironic that the reasons Hanako looked forward to Yamako are the exact reasons I hated the idea. To me, it felt like I was being shunted somewhere away from society and everyone I knew. To Hanako, that was probably an inviting prospect. What was life like at the orphanage? Sorry, I feel like that sounded like I was really uninterested. What was life like at the orphanage? I don't know if that was any better.
It was okay. The staff there were nice, and they took care of us. The children there didn't talk to me much, but I didn't really want to talk with them either, so I didn't mind. The orphanage had a little library, so I started to read to pass the time. The staff didn't mind it, because it made me easier to handle than many of the other children.
You didn't make any friends there?
No. I think my life was on hold during that time. I knew that, but I didn't mind.
To think her life was on hold for all that time, though. Depending on when the fire happened, that was a huge chunk of her life. No parents, no friends, apparently no relatives. We walk through the door into the courtyard. I expect need to avert my eyes from the sun, but by now it's well into sunset. Hanako's eyes keep flicking to me, so I look away from her for a bit.
What was it like in the hospital?
I quickly clear my thoughts and try to refocus them. I hesitate for a bit, but I know that I have to tell her. We're close enough for her to feel comfortable telling me this, so it's only fair that I reciprocate. It was okay at times, but at others it was pretty bad. At the beginning, everyone sent their sympathies and came to visit often. It was just like breaking an arm or something. Meeting all my friends was one of the good times. J.Yumeko came in often as well, more often than anyone else. But there were bad times too. When my friends slowly stopped visiting, I began to realize how grave my situation was. It reminded me that it wasn't just a broken limb, but that I was now a different person than before. Even the times J.Yumeko would spend with me became torturous. By the end, we were reduced to silence, whereas before, she'd be talking constantly. But that's just how J.Yumeko always was. She may have been a fragile person, but she would talk constantly to try and hide that fact. Not about anything in particular, just talk. I think the three lowest points would have been when my parents told me I wouldn't be going to my old school anymore, my birthday passing while in the hospital, and when Iwanako left for the last time. We leave the school buildings behind us as we begin to follow the main path through the gardens. There may have been the odd bystander in the school buildings, but outside, we're practically alone.
What was your middle school like?
I liked it. I grew up in a really metropolitan area, and the middle school was nearby, so it was pretty crowded. I didn't mind it, probably because I'm used to being in crowds and around lots of other people. I got good grades, and I played soccer with my friends. I spent a fair bit of time hanging out with them after school as well. Did get teased a bit over my hair, though.
Your hair?
I grimaced a little as I put a hand over my hair to cover it. I'd keep getting tufts and strands that refused to flatten or stay where I wanted them, and my mother wouldn't let me just get my hair shaved. It had a bad habit of popping out, no matter how much I tried to brush it down.
It still does, a little.
I was worried I'd get that reply.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I give a mild laugh and wave it off. It's fine, I know it still does. It feels strange to have someone act so interested in my past. If it were anyone else, I'd think they were just acting polite, but that's something I really don't think Hanako would do. Or if she did, she'd do it so badly that it would be obvious. There are a number of girls in the common room on the ground floor, and Hanako presses herself to my side once more as we pass them. I expect her to break off, but instead she continues to cling on to me as we walk towards the stairway. Something about the way she's holding on to me feels different from usual. I'm left deep in thought as we walk up the stairs and down the hallway. It's only when we stop that I look up and realize that I've been following her without question. Why did we come to your dormitory room? She looks straight at the door, without so much as a glance in my direction. Hanako? She moves to answer, but stops herself. Oh, boy. Okay. Instead, she silently breaks from my side, opens her door, and steps inside. I look up and down the hallway, a bit lost as to what exactly I should do. Shrugging, I decide to follow her, since I don't have a reason to do otherwise. Hanako stands in the middle of the room and looks straight at me. It's unnerving when she does this, as it's such an unusual action for her. I open my mouth to speak, but she preempts me. Oh. Guys, I think it's here. I think it's here, boys.
Could you?
Fuck. My God, why do I have to start coughing now?
Could you close and lock the door?
Hanako's hand reaches for her chest, grabbing her blouse at her heart. I turn and lock the door shut, then freeze. The atmosphere is beginning to feel quite strange. This feeling is only made more profound when I hear the curtains being pulled behind me. It's going to be night soon. We're a guy and a girl in a bedroom. She's closing the curtains, and I'm shutting and locking the door. She can't really have that in mind, can she? I go up and turn around very, very slowly. Hanako is in the center of the room, but hasn't turned back to face me.
You told me about your past, so I have to tell you mine.
She takes a deep, shuddering breath and pauses for a number of seconds. Her hands move to her ribbon and begin to tug, all but confirming my thoughts. Hanako.
Please, don't say anything.
I obediently stay hushed as she slips off her ribbon and continues to unbutton her blouse, before working the clip on her bra. The process is slow. Perhaps it just feels slow because of what she's doing. I'm not sure. Frozen to the spot, all I can do is watch as Hanako, hands trembling, unclips her skirt and lets it drop to the ground. Finally, she takes her blouse in her hands and draws it off, her bra falling from her shoulders. And so, Hanako stands in the middle of the room all but bared, save for her stockings and underwear.
This is me. All of me.
My eyes are immediately drawn to the scarring on her back. The skin on her right side is of a similar texture to that of her face, but it's also stretched, taut, and covering a much larger area. The scarring is by far the worst in the shoulder, buttock, and thigh. Just as my heart attack redefined my life, this is the event that redefined Hanako's. If I'd seen this when I first met her, I'd have been shocked. Not only at the sight, but also the idea that something like this was survivable. But after having had time to get used to the idea, and after seeing the scars on her hands, face, and collar, my reaction is more measured. My reaction right now is not due to her scarring, but to her body.
The fire happened when I was 8 years old. It was night and we were sleeping when it started.
Hanako's voice trembles, the shaking of her blouse giving away the fact that her hands are doing just the same.
I curled up into a ball when the fire swept over me. My mother tried to shield me. That's the only reason I lived.
Hanako's eyes begin to moisten, her voice cracking under the combined pressure of exposing herself to me like this, and reliving those painful memories from so long ago. I want to say something, anything to make her feel better. I can't though. I feel completely useless when faced with a situation like this. She's forcing herself to come so close, yet it's at times like this that I feel most distant to her.
I'm sorry for making you see this.
There's no point in denying the obvious. I think what I should say now, what Hanako wants me to say now, is the truth. What I genuinely, honestly believe. It doesn't matter. You're a wonderful person, Hanako. Your body doesn't change that. She looks at me for a long time, her breathing uneven as she tries to remain steady amidst the emotions we're both feeling. It feels less like she's looking at me than she's looking through me. I slowly walk towards her and gently place my hands on her shoulders as she lets go of her blouse. She gasps a little, not in fright, but in simple startlement. Being so close to her causes my mind to become a jumble of feelings. The scarring on her shoulder, plain to see and leather-like to the touch, conflicts strangely with her otherwise soft skin and silky dark hair. Hanako is a girl. Hanako is a girl, with all that entails. She's taller than usual for a woman, but still has curves in all the right places. The nape of her neck, just visible thanks to her hair slung over her shoulder. It's alluring.
I know that I'm not pretty, like Lily. I just wanted you to see me. The real me.
I've already seen the real you, though. You didn't need to take... You didn't need to take your clothes off for that. Her lips are open just a little. She lets out a sharp breath as, without thinking, I breathlessly lean forward and press my lips to hers. The kiss only lasts for a fleeting moment before our faces part, our breathing locked... our breathing quick and nervous. I'm dying! The feeling of Hanako's mouth lingers, and her eyes remain locked to mine. I'm sorry if you can hear that fucking lawnmower outside. Some asshole decided to come and mow the goddamn lawn at this time of goddamn day. Ugh. Trembling a little myself, I remove my tie and begin undoing the buttons of my shirt. Hanako remains where she's standing, looking at the ground in front of her rather than watching me undress. On the one hand, I'm thankful for that. I've always been somewhat self-conscious of my body, but my scarring has made that quite a lot worse. On the other hand, though, this atmosphere feels very strange. My shirt falls to the floor in a heap, as untidy and crumpled as Hanako's blouse and skirt. Hanako's entire body visibly flinches at the sound of the zipper on my trousers being pulled down. My trousers join my shirt on Hanako's floor next to the bed, as do my socks in short measure. I hesitate before taking off my boxers, and end up leaving them on. They represent one last hurdle I don't think I can overcome quite yet. Sheer embarrassment stops me, along with not wanting Hanako getting even more worked up. My unease about the situation has also left me needing my own stimulation. Hanako. She gives me a nod without so much as glancing at me, and makes her way to the bed as I do. She walks as if her legs were wooden sticks. I'd find it amusing if I weren't doing the exact same thing. I take the initiative, turning around and sitting on the side of the bed. I look to her face to invite her to sit, to take a seat either next to me or in front of me, but end up awkwardly looking down to stop myself from staring at her body. Pog-ers. Let's go! We did it! We finally made it to this point. Nevertheless, she takes her cue and reluctantly sits between my legs. As she does, a rush of sensation hits me all at once. The feeling of her behind against my crotch is the most obvious, but her scent is just as strong. She's worked up a slight sweat already from her nervousness, and the smell and feeling of her hair is washed across my face. I try to put on a smile to try and make the situation a bit more comfortable for her, but it feels really stilted. Deciding to try and move things along, one hand finds itself on her breast, as the other rests on her leg. Her lips pursed tightly together as she tries, unsuccessfully, to suppress a squeal of surprise at the action. Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. Hanako takes a breath and shakes her head as her only reply. A gulp comes from deep in my throat, before beginning to move my hand around, feeling and massaging her breasts and nipple. It feels really nice, giving way underneath my palm with just a little firmness. For a while, I don't think it's helping her to get in the mood at all, but slowly her eyelids begin to lower. Her breathing slows to a more rhythmic pattern, and her body begins to relax into mine. It's newly satisfying to be able to make Hanako feel like this. Definitely better than the feeling of her body alone. I can sense a little hard bump brushing up against my fingers that wasn't there before too. I slowly move my hand downwards, trying not to surprise her too much. She gives no protest, and my fingers soon begin to move up and down the soft groove between her legs. Her body is pressed against mine now, a thin sheen of sweat on both of us. She feels warm, and all this has more than served to arouse me as well as her. Hanako gives a small gasp, my fingers pressing a little harder and moving a little faster, almost instinctively. The girl in front of me, the girl pressing against me. I want her. All of her. I stop moving my fingers, making Hanako give a long breath of relief from the feelings welling up inside of her. Her face looks to mine a little, silent but expectant. All I do is nod. I don't know which one of us is more apprehensive right now. I push myself back onto the bed, extracting myself from Hanako with a certain amount of reluctance. From her parts, she slides back and lies down with her head on her pillow, breathing heavily for a while. For her part, my bad. Oh shit! Oh shit! Hanako lying in front of me, her panties darkened, her chest heaving, her face flushed and her eyes looking into mine. Her scars just make her body look all the more unique. I'm left without words that she'd allow me to see her like this. I bring myself closer to her, allowing my hands on her waist. I wait for her to nod before taking a delicate hold of her stockings, taking them up a bit as gently as I can manage. I don't think I can get them off without tearing them, so I end up leaving them on her legs and moving her panties aside. Hanako lies practically naked on the bed. Her most delicate parts and the scarring of her body are now plain to see. Bringing my fingers to her crotch, I stroke her a little more, causing her breath to catch. She should be okay if she's this aroused. So I open my boxers and move myself up a little on the bed. Hanako's entire body tenses as I bring myself close to her, her eyes widening. She's scared? I take a long breath, before realizing something that I should have thought of before. I close my eyes and concentrate deeply. My heart thumps away as I focus my mind on its beating. It's faster than usual, of course, but the beat is regular. I think I can keep it in check, if I take this slowly.
Are you...
Fuck.
Are you okay?
I open my eyes and look at her. I guess that must have looked pretty worrying to someone else watching me. I'm okay. I was just making sure that I was. She hesitates a little before nodding. She looks a little less afraid than before, so maybe showing her that I was also worried helped reassure her. I lean over and press my lips to hers, our tongues tentatively touching. I can feel her body become less tense under mine, so it's getting both of us back into the right mood. Then I remember something and pull back. I lean over the side of my bed to where my trousers are, my hand reaching for the back pocket. I feel around blind for a few seconds until a little foil square brushes just underneath my fingertip. He just has that with him? Like, I guess I could see it if, like, he had it in a wallet or something. but he just casually walks around with a condom in his back pocket. That's kind of weird, dude. I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the loop on this. I quickly pull it out and right myself on the bed, sitting back from Hanako a little and fiddling with the packet. It takes a little while for everything to go on correctly, but eventually the rubber sleeve covers what it should, fitting snugly. My slight confusion at the first time trying to work a condom seems to have amused her a little, and as I position myself over her, we share a small nervous laugh. Now, though, I need to try and concentrate. I look down and try to get my knees and waist in what I think are the right places, and take my penis in my slightly shaking hand. Hanako's face is looking at mine, but her eyes are pointed down at where our crotches meet. With a short breath, I position the head and push my hips forward. God, I don't want to make these noises, dude. I'll leave it up to you guys. In one stroke, I push myself fully inside of her. The rush of sensations and emotions fills my head, and Hanako yelps in pain. Looking at her face makes me feel uneasy. I mistakenly pushed too hard and too fast, and caused her more pain than necessary. Neither of us really knows what we're doing, and the last thing I wanted was to hurt her. Hanako opens her eyes again and looks towards me. She must have seen how troubled I look, as she tries her best to put on a happy face. It's not very convincing at all. I look down and begin slowly to move my hips forward again after giving her a few moments to recover. The movement feels really unnatural, and I can feel muscles moving all over my lower body that I haven't felt moving in this way before. I know I'm putting stress in my heart that I probably shouldn't, as well, and and with every movement I keep track of my heart's beat. The feeling inside of Hanako is soft and warm, and if not for the condom deadening a little of the sensation, I doubt I'd be able to last very long at all. Her soft gasps and constant movements don't help at all either. For Hanako's part, the look of pain doesn't really seem to be dissipating as I'd hoped. Her scar tissue causes one side of her body to move a little differently from the other, and strands of her hair are by now sticking to her face. I put my arms around her body and lift it up a little. After some squirming for the both of us, we try positioning ourselves a little bit differently to minimize her pain. With my hands holding her legs, both of us are moving in less and less measured movements by now. The smell of Hanako fills my senses, and from this position, I'm not stressing my body quite as much. My sense of time seems distorted, and I feel like I'm starting to get faint from hyperventilating. I want Hanako to feel good, though, and I can't stop now that we've reached this point. A new wave of pleasure suddenly begins to wash over me. My feelings are beginning to well up, and I don't think I can control them anymore. I speed up, concentrating less and less on pacing myself. Every time it feels like we found a rhythm, we lose it in our movements. From the sounds she's making, I don't think this position's helped Hanako feel much better, and I don't think I'm going to be able to hold her much longer either. I turn and lay her back down on the bed, both of us well beyond the point of doing anything but reaching the end. One thrust after another, I begin to feel that point coming, frantically tensing myself to try and stave it off for as long as I can. Hanako! Oh! Hanako gives a small shriek as my mind blanks. My waist hits hers with a fair amount of force as I hit the point of climax, and I can feel myself twitching inside of her. Her body twists and turns under mine, only heightening the feeling of euphoria. And then, after a couple of seconds, it ends. The sound of Hanako's breathing and my own rings in my ears. Yeah, sure. Almost painfully loud. Oh, the sound of Hanako's breathing in my own rings in my ears, almost painfully loudly. Hanako holds an arm over her face, her mouth open and gulping for air. As I hold myself over her, suddenly my arms almost give way and my vision distorts, as if someone's grabbed it and pulled it sideways. I let myself fall sideways onto the bed beside the panting Hanako, for fear of falling onto her instead. We both lie beside each other, naked and pressed against one another in order to fit on a bed made for a single person. My eyes try to focus on the ceiling, to not much success. Pulling a blanket over us to stave off the cold is all I can do. The only sound in the room is that of our breathing. The sweat that had accumulated on my body feels uncomfortable. We're both physically and emotionally exhausted, and a complete mess all over. Uh-oh. That's not good. This did not happen with, Emmy. My vision slowly begins to return to normal as I continue to stare at the ceiling, but my limbs still feel like jelly. I try to concentrate on my chest and find its beat irregular and mildly painful. This is a dangerous time. I have to think this through and not panic, lest I make my situation any worse. With a huge effort, I take control of my erratic breathing, forcing myself to take long, deep breaths. I count half a dozen before I start to feel physically calm again, and press my hand to my chest to reassure myself. My heart beats back to normal. My heart beats back to normal. I'm okay. I turn my face towards Hanako, who's already looking at me. Her expression looks pretty dazed, but fuck. But underneath that, there's definitely a look of concern. She's realized what happened. I'm okay. Everything's back to normal. I find myself barely to get the words out between breaths. I don't think sex would tire a normal body out this much, so I have no doubt my condition's at least partially at fault. Why did my body have to do this right now? All thoughts of my heart, though, are pushed aside as I see the wide smile forming on Hanako's face. As always, I smile back without another thought. Hanako's smile has always been infectious in its almost childlike sweetness and earnesty, something that sets her apart from anyone else I know. Right now, we don't need words. Everything we want to communicate to each other, we can share just fine without them. There it is. Let's go, baby! We fucking did it! We finally did it! Okay, let's save. Create new save state, continue, main menu. Yes. Alrighty, guys. We finally fucking made it. That was a lot different than Emmy's, because with Emmy's, obviously, we didn't have the heart thing. And I feel like with Emmy, it was a lot more casual. Like, this with Hanako was a lot more sensual. Is that the way to say it? It was a lot more, fuck, what's the right word? Deep? Personal? You know, it's just a more serious tone than what it was with Emmy, which felt a lot more casual. But, I mean, I think we've pretty much taken the final step, man. We've both essentially completely opened up to each other. In addition to, you know, doing that, which, you know. Man, I'm fucking speechless right now. It's been such a long journey. It has been such a long journey to get to this point. And I'm happy it's here. So, I'm kind of curious, what is there now, right? Like, I guess at some point, Lily's gonna come back, blah, 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 but is it gonna end up like Emmy, where, okay, now we're just gonna have sex, like, casually every time we meet? Which, probably not, considering Emmy was doing that more as, like, a distraction kind of / coping mechanism. But I guess we're just gonna have to see, huh? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it, and tell me in the comment section below what you would like to see me play next. If you enjoyed this series or any other videos or series on my channel, then I highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you'll be notified when one of these videos comes out. Anyways, that's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.